this interview that he's done, he has tarnished his legacy.
He probably gets frustrated. He doesn't want to play sheriff on a Thursday night.
Well, I think he's right in what he's saying about everyone. I think he has been mistreated for the club legend that he is.
If you haven't heard, Cristiano Ronaldo has done an explosive interview with Piers Morgan where he's criticised the club and he's criticised the manager and he wants out. But we're here to ask the fans, has he tarnished his legacy?
Yes, that I felt betrayed.
Yeah, definitely finished at the club. He's probably the greatest goal scorer that's ever been. His selfishness got him to where he wanted to be. It was all about me. You saw him at Real Madrid when there was times when his teammates would score and he'd go off in a huff because they'd not passed it to him to score, and that's what got him where he wanted to be, and that's what's going to be his demise at this club. He could have showed the attitude of, yep, I'll speak out about the owners, but I'll be a real part of the squad. I'll help the youngsters. I'll show him what it's like to be a professional, but he's not. He's kind of like screwed them all over.
Well, I think he's right in what he's saying about everyone. I think he has been mistreated for the club legend that he is. But I just think it's the wrong time to come out and say it.
A lot of Manchester United fans are actually agreeing with what he said about the club in general and the Glazer aspect of it. Yeah. Do you agree with what he's saying in terms of that?
100%. Just the way he's been treated, the way the club hasn't upgraded the staff, the training ground, the stadium, the whole lot behind it. But I don't think he should have came out and disrespected the manager in such a way.
So when you see a footballer come out on an interview, which is something we rarely get in football, it feels very American when that happens, but he's come out, he's disrespected the manager, former teammates, his own teammates. I mean, surely that's crossed the line?
You could say that, but just the profile that he has, you almost feel like he can say it because of what he's done for the club and the superstar that he is. Disrespect towards the club? No. Disrespect towards the manager? Yeah.
Cross the line?
Just a little bit, yeah. I don't think he'd be able to play now under Ten Hag after what he came out and done.
I don't like what he said about Erik Ten Hag. I've been a big fan of Erik Ten Hag. Really wanted him to come. Obviously he's here now, and I think he's fantastic. And I think he's got to make his mark. I think Erik Ten Hag's got to put a stamp on it and say, this is how we're going to do things.
But to see a player come out, we've never seen this before, where a player comes out against Manchester United of all clubs. I know with Gary Neville's, this is Manchester United, but it is like, from the Alex Ferguson days to this, how does it feel to see this happen?
Yeah, I think it's also just the evolution of how things work with social media. Obviously, you know yourself with Joe and stuff, but people are a lot more connected to these players now, and we get a lot more insight into what's going on, which is fantastic for the fans. But I think, I don't like the fact that he's come out and slandered a lot of things, but I also think he's gave good insight because he's saying, yeah, the Glazers, they've not updated the kitchen, stuff like that, and I think that's, a lot of United fans will be going, well, we need to keep going, we need to keep protesting, we need to, do you know what I mean? Because if things aren't changing, then we're just going to be stuck like this. Don't get me wrong, you can have world-class coaches, we had Mourinho and stuff like that, but you've got to also adapt with stuff like the training ground and stuff like that and the facilities, so you've just got to keep getting better and better. So, to an extent, I don't blame him for slandering and stuff like that, but I don't like the slander of managers, players, stuff like that.
Well, I think he's disrespecting the team a bit on Ten Hag because he said, he is a manager. At the end of the day, I've played rubbish football in rubbish teams, but you always respect your manager, and just because you're Ronaldo, you got to respect him. It doesn't matter who you are. Ego, your teammates, you all got to pull it together, and sometimes it just looks like they're not.
I don't think Ten Hag's taking him seriously because he's a good player still, but he doesn't get to play, so he obviously has to say about it.
Has he tarnished his legacy for you at Manchester United?
No, not for me personally. I think, look, he's qualified to give his opinion. He's done everything, and he gives everything, and I still think he gives everything week in, week out. Don't get me wrong. Do I like him throwing his hands up and stuff like that? No, not really. But I think, he, in my opinion, he's the GOAT. He's the best.
Yes, and speaking to a lot of my friends who we've all been United fans since the 80s, and a lot of them have said it, that this interview that he's done, he has tarnished his legacy. Like I said, he could have just left it. slagging off the Glazers, criticising what they do, the infrastructure, but he's not. He's kind of took a swipe at the manager, took a swipe at Wayne Rooney when Wayne Rooney was telling. He told the truth. He said his behaviour this season. Like, if why is Roy Keane defending it? If Keane was captain, he wouldn't have had any of it.
Strange, wasn't it, Roy Keane defending him when he's a no-nonsense guy?
No, I know. Obviously, ex-teammates, ex-friends, they're going to defend him a lot because you've seen it with your Scholes, Hargreaves, Rio Ferdinands. It's all the ex-boys club. They don't want to say anything. The only one that really said something a few weeks ago was Neville and Ronaldo, and he's been ignored. But yeah, like I said, it's a shame it's ended this way. But this was always the risk with Ronaldo. He's done it at other clubs. I think the Juventus fans, even though he kind of scored tons of goals there, they probably they thought he was a good player, but he's not a legend there. Obviously, Real Madrid he is, but there was times when he was booed at Real Madrid as well because he's a controversial character, and that's the way he is.
No, for what he's done for the club and what he's achieved across the whole world, across every league. No, I think the fans will still love him. I think they'll just be upset. They get over it.
They will get over it, you're right. But what did you think of his comments surrounding Wayne Rooney as well? That was a bit of a strange.
I haven't seen the full interview, I've only seen clips of it.
So the Rooney one was, I'm not sure why Rooney criticised me. Maybe it's because I'm still playing and he retired. I'm not going to say I'm better looking, but I am.
Yeah, that's a bit it's a bit childish now, something like that. I don't know, but you still got to look at the age he is now and the age that Rooney is, you know what I mean? Pretty sure Ronaldo's older than Rooney, you know? Yeah. And he's still out there performing, you know what I mean? He was top goal scorer last season, you know what I mean? And then he's getting criticised because he's having a bad season. He was getting benched for the first start of the season when he was our top goal scorer. I just thought it was very strange as well, you know?
I think it's best for him and best for us if he goes. And I think, I'm backing Eric Ten Hag all the way. I think we're going to become back to where we are in a few years. Like I say, it's going to take a while and there's some big changes going to have to happen. But I think in regards to Ronaldo, we need to cut ties.
And just finally on that then, obviously I know it's an elite mentality that Ronaldo has, but do you think there's an air of maybe he just needs to accept that age happens no matter how much work you put in and you're not going to be the superstar that you once were, but he could still have a role? Or do you think he's entitled, because of what he's achieved, to have that opinion of himself and that esteem?
I think it's a really good question, and it's something that I go back and forth with in my head. But age is a factor, and you do slow down. As I know the way that he sweeps and eats and stuff is perfect, and he never slips up from what's been released in that regard. But I think he's just got he probably just has got to accept it. But I think as well, as long as Messi's around, he's going to be wanting to push, because he doesn't want to retire and then go and see Messi. And I think, although they may not acknowledge it as much, they definitely have got that rivalry. And obviously, we know in the football world there's always that rivalry. So he's going to push as much as he can. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him go to a Champions League team in January to try and, win it again, because he wants to win as many as possible, which I get.